So, good day everyone, this is Pia Jane V. Balasbas, and our group is going to discuss you the rules and regulations in playing volleyball. So, we have rules and regulations in playing, servicing, playing the ball, blocking, play at the net, faults, and provoke and retaliation rules in playing volleyball. In players, the teams consist of 6 players. However, a team may start or continue the game with 4 players. So, di ba sa isa ka game may 2 ka team. Tagsa ka team may tig-6 ka players. Karon kung ginakulang sila sa players, pwede sila ka continue or pwede ka start ang game nga 4 lang ang players. This event will be co-ed a minimum of 2 females on the score and card. This event will be co-ed, minimum of 2 females on the scorecard and official roster. 1 female player must be playing on the court at all times. All games will be played with the no side out rule. That is, a point is scored on every possession. Preliminary games. A game shall be won by the team that has scored 25 points and is at least 2 points ahead with a cap at 27. A match is consists of only 1 game and sides will be switched once 13 points has been reached by one team. Semi-final and final games. A game shall be won by the team that has scored 25 points and is at least 2 points ahead. A match is consists of the best 2 out of 3 games. So, sa preliminary is isa lang gina sa ka-game and pauna-una lang kalabot sa 25 or at least 2 points ang gap sa 2 ka team. Once nga may team na nga may mag 13 points, dira na sila ma-change score. And then, sa semi-final and final games is same man siya sa pauna-una 25 or at least may 2 points nga gap. Pero sa semi-final and sa final game is may 3 ka set sang game. And kung sino makakuha sa 2 ka set, amo na ang champion. Let's proceed to letter B, the service. Winner of the tossed coin shall choose to serve or receive. So, kung sila ang daog sa tossed coin, is sila ang ma-decide kung ma-serve sila or sila ang ma-receive. So, server must remain behind service line until ball is contacted. So, ang server dapat hindi maglapaw sa service area. Kung mag-serve na sa sangbuli, pwede siya katapak sa service line kung nabuyan niya na ang bola kag napasa na sa piyak nga court. If the ball is served before the referee's whistle, the ball is dead and the point is reserved. So, dapat ihulaton gid ang pito sang referee. Number 4, if a team's player serve out of order, the team loses serve and points scored while serving out of order. The players of the any fault must take their correct position. Any attempt to screen the receiving team from seeing the trajectory of the serve will result in a point of possession. This includes 2 or more players standing together or 1 player with his hands above his head as the serve passes over his or them. So, kung mag-screen, ang penalty is ang players 2 or more matindog sa kilid court or ang isa matindog ang iya 2 ka kamot ara sa likod sang iya nga ulo samtang naga-serve ang iya nga teammate. At the time the ball is contacted for the serve, the players on the court must be in their proper order. So, pagtapos ang serve, dapat mabalik na sila sang ilang mga positions.
Ball. Each team is allowed 3 successive contacts of the ball in order to return it. The ball may be hit with any part of the body above the waist. The ball can contact any number of body parts provided that such contacts are simultaneous and the ball rebounds immediately and clearly. Touching the ball in an attempt to block does not count as a touch, and the same player may make the first contact. A ball is considered held when it rests in a player's hands and arms, and a good hit is a clear, instant, instantaneous contact. Receiving a served ball with an overhead pass using open hands is not necessarily a fault. If, after simultaneous contact by opponents, the ball falls out of bounds, the team on the opposite side shall be deemed as having caused it to go out of bounds. When two players of the same team simultaneously contact the ball, it is considered one contact, and either player may make the next contact. A player is not allowed to attack the ball on the opponent's side of the net. No player shall assist a teammate by holding him or her while they are playing the ball. It is legal to hold a player not playing the ball in order to prevent a fault. A back row player cannot cross a ball above the net unless behind the 3-meter line or jumping from it, and touching the line is a violation.
Blocking. Blocking may be legally accomplished only by the players who are in the front line at the time of service. Backline players may not participate in a block. The team which has effected a block shall have the right to 3 additional contacts after the block. Number 3. Any player participating in a block shall have the right to make the next contact. Such contact counting as the first team hit. Multiple contacts of the ball by players participating in a block shall be legal, provided it is during one attempt or intercept the ball. Multiple contacts of the ball by a player participating in a block shall be legal, provided it is during one attempt to intercept the ball. Lastly, multiple contacts of the ball during a block shall be considered a single contact even though the ball may make multiple contacts with one or more players of the block.
At the net. The game will continue during the serve, even if the ball crosses over the net. Number 2. A player who accidentally or not contacts the net with their body or clothes during the play is considered a fault. Number 3. If opponents touch the net simultaneously is considered a double fault and the point should be replayed. Number 4. Incorrect player contact of the net support is not considered a fault as if it doesn't affect play sequence, while intentionally contact or grabbing objects is penalized. Number 5. Fault occurs when opponent's body contact except feet is not considered a fault if the foot remains or above the center line and doesn't interfere with opponent play.
Fault. First, fault result in a point. Second, fault shall be declared when A. The ball touches the floor. B. The ball is held, throw, or push. C. A team must play the ball more than 3 times consecutively. D. The ball touches a player below the waist. E. A player touches the ball twice consecutively. F. A team is out of position at serve. G. A player touches the net. H. A player completely crosses the center point and contacts the opponent's playing area. I. A player attacks the ball above the opponent's playing area. J. A backline player while in attack area hits the ball into the opponent court from above the height of the net. K. A ball lands outside the court or touches an object outside the court. L. The ball is played by a player being assisted by a teammates as a means of support. M. A player reaches under the net and touches the ball or an opponent while the ball is being played by the opposite team. N. The game is delayed percentage. O. Blocking is performed illegally. P. Illegally served ball or served foot.
G. Provoked and retaliation rules. The one that provokes the harm will be ejected from the game or tournament and subsequent games in following 3 years. The players who retaliate will be ejected and banned for 2 years.
Chapter 4 Stages of Play. Ball in play. As soon as the authorized service is hit, the ball is in play. authorized by the first referee. Ball out of play. When a referee signals a fault, the ball is out of play. If there is no fault, play continues after the whistle sound. Kung makita kung mag-whistle ang referee is ma-out of play ang bola, it means mauntat ang hampang. Pero kung mabalaan man nga wala, man gali sang sala, is ma-continue ang game pagkatapos sang pagpito sang referee. Ball in. If at any point during the ball's contact with the floor, any portion of the ball touches the court, including the boundary lines, it is considered to be in. So, mahambal mo in o scored ang pagtupa sang bola sa salog is kung ang bola magtupa sa sulod sang line. Makonsider pa sa nga in kung magtupa sa line gid mismo sang court. Ball out. The ball is out when all parts of the ball which contact the floor are completely outside the boundary line. Kung sasagwa na gid siyang mga squares, siyang mga lines. The ball is out when it touches an object outside the court, the ceiling, or the person out of play. Pwede man nga kung ma-out na kuno ang ball kung matandog ang kisame or kung matandog ang tawo nga ara sa sagwa sang court. It is considered as ball out if it touches the antenna, ropes, post, or the net itself outside the bench. Amo na, kung maglapaw sa antena, in our past lessons, kung maglapaw sa antena, considered as ball out. And it is also considered as ball out if it crosses the vertical plane over the net either partially or totally outside the crossing space, except in the case of Rule 10 and 12. It crosses completely the lower space under the net. Playing the ball. Each team must play within its own playing area and space except Rule 10 and 12. The ball may, however, be retrieved from beyond its own free zone and over the scoring table its complete extension. Team hits. Any player in play making contact with the ball is considered a hit. In addition to blocking, the team is allowed a maximum 3 hits when they return the ball. If more are employed, the group is guilty of 4 hits. So, same man sa previous lessons na dapat 3 hits lang gid ang sa volleyball. Kung ma-4 hits na siya is considered as foul and or ma-score sa piyak na team. Consecutive contacts. A player may not hit the ball 2 times consecutively. So, dapat ang isa ka player hindi ya matouch ang ball kaduwa nga duwa ka magkasunod nga touch. Dapat lain-lain nga tawo kag dapat 3 times lang gid na ang pag-touch sang ball kung ara sa sulod sang court nila. Simultaneous contacts. 2 or 3 players may touch the ball at the same moment. 2 or 3 teams touch the ball. Simultaneously counted as hits except blocking. Only one touches the ball and collisions aren't fault. The opposing team is entitled to 3 more hits when 2 opponents touch the ball simultaneously over the net, while the opposing team is responsible for the ball going out. 2 opponents hitting over the net simultaneously can result in extended contact with the ball, even if completed above the opponent's court, allowing play to continue. Assisted hit. Players cannot use teammate support to hit the ball, but they can be stopped or held back by a teammate before committing a fault. Characteristics of the hit. The first, the ball may touch any part of the body. Second, the ball may not be caught or not be thrown. It can rebound in any direction. Third, the ball can touch various body parts simultaneously, provide the contacts occur simultaneously. Exceptions. At blocking, consecutive contacts may be made by 1 or more players, provided that the contacts occur during one action. At the first hit of the team, the ball may contact various parts of the body consecutively, provided that the contacts occur during one action. Faults in playing the ball. 4 hits. A team hits the ball 4 times before returning it. So, parehas ang ginamba ko kagina, dapat katatlo lang gid i-hit ang bola. Assisted hit. A player takes support from a teammate or any structure objects in order to hit the ball within the playing area. Catch. The ball is caught and or thrown it doesn't not rebound from the hit. So kung ginsalo mo ang bola is isa na sa mga fault. Double contact nga fault. A player hits the ball twice in succession or the ball contacts various parts of her body in succession. Ball the net. Ball crossing the net. The ball sent to the opponent's court must pass to the crossing space, which is a vertical plane part of the net, below by the top of the net, at the side by the antenna and the imaginary extension, above by the ceiling, and the ball that has crossed the net plane to the opponent's free zone totally or partly through the external space may be played back within the team hits, provided that the opponent's court is not touched by the player. The ball, when played back, crosses the net plane again totally or partly to the external space on the same side of court. The opponent team may not prevent such action. The ball is heading towards the opponent's court through the lower space is in play until the moment it has completely crossed the vertical plane or the net. Ball touching the net. While crossing the net, the ball may touch it. Ball in the net. A ball driven into the net may be recovered within the limits of 3 team hits. If the ball rips the mesh of the net or tears it down, the rally is cancelled and replayed. Player at the net. Reaching beyond the net. A player can touch the ball beyond the net in the blocking as long as they don't interfere with the opponent's play before their attack. During an attack, a player is permitted to pass his or her hand beyond the net, provided that the initial contact has been made within his or her own playing space and the ball is not caught or thrown. Penetration under the net. It is permitted to penetrate into the opponent's space under the net, provided that this does not interfere with the opponent's play. Penetration into the opponent's court beyond the center line. Foot contact with opponent's court is allowed, provided it remains in contact with or above the center line, and doesn't interfere with opponent's play. The player can touch the opponent's court with any part of their body above their feet, as long as it doesn't interfere with the opponent's play. A play may enter the opponent's court after the ball goes out of play. Players may generate into the opponent's free zone, provided that they do not interfere with the opponent's play.
Contact with the net. Players are not allowed to touch the net between the antenna while playing the ball, but they can touch objects outside the antenna as long as it doesn't disrupt play. If the ball hits the net and touches an opponent, it's not considered a fault. Di pwede matouch sang player ang net kung gahampang na, pero pwede sila ka-touch objects outside the antenna as long away nila naistorbo ang hampang. Kag kung maigo sang bola ang net kag nagkadto sa player, di na sa makonsider nga fault. Players fault at the net. Players can be fault for touching the ball or an opponent too early, interfering under the net, or entering the opponent's court. Interference includes touching the net between antenna, using it for support, or obstructing opponents. Being near the ball during play is considered part of the action. However, touching the net, usually the antenna, is usually not a fault except as specified in Rule 913. Matawag nga fault kung naigo sa player ang net, pero if lapit lang sa net ang player kag wala man naigo ang net, di na sa makonsider nga fault. Service. The service is the act of putting the ball into play by the back right player placed in the service zone. Service is the most important part ng volleyball kay didra umpisa tanan before mag-start ang rally. First service in a set. The team determined by the toss serves first in the opening set and the crucial fifth set. In all other sets, the team that didn't serve first in the preceding set starts with the service. Ang team nga nagdaog sa toss coin ang ma-decide kung serve or court, and kung sino nag-serve sa first set, sila man ang ma-serve sa fifth set. Service order. The players must follow the service order recorded on the lineup sheet. After the first service in the set, the next server is determined differently based on which team wins the rally. If the serving team wins, the previous server or their substitute serves again. If the receiving team wins, they rotate and the player moving from the right position to the back right position serves. Kung ang server nakaobra violations, bisan ang kontra wala sa position, sa kontra Japon makadto ang score. Like nag-serve na be, tas wala ay gin-execute mayo service ya, may violations pagid na. Nga once nakapito na biyang ref, kag dugay pa mahit ang bola, maisip ang ref, 5 seconds, kung malapaw sa 5 seconds sa kontra na ang score, bisan wala pa to sila sa position. Authorization of the service. The first referee authorizes the service, at which point both teams are prepared to play and the server holds the ball. Ang referee masignal if pwede nakaserve paagi sa pagpito while ang maserve ready na sa signal ka ref. Execution of the service. The server must hit the ball with one hand or arm after one toss, allowing dribbling or ball movement during the service hit. They must avoid touching the court or floor outside the service zone, but afterward, they are free to step anywhere. They have 8 seconds after the referee's whistle to hit the ball. Any attempt before the whistle is cancelled and must be redone. Ang server dapat mahit yung ball nga isa lang kamot, hindi sa pwede magtapak or tandog outside sang service zone. While ga-serve siya, and after 8 seconds ang pagpito ka ref nga way pa ka-serve ang server, automatic nga makato sa opponent ang score. Screening. Players serving must not obstruct the opponent's view of the service hit or ball's trajectory using screening tactics. This involves actions like waving arms, jumping, moving sideways, or standing together to conceal the service hit in ball spot until it crosses the net. If the receiving team can see either the service hit or ball's trajectory, it isn't considered a screen. Di pwede pagtabunan sang opponent ang view sang maserve or di nila pagamitan sang tactics like waving arms, jumping, moving sideways, or standing together para ma-distract ang server. Faults made during the service. The following faults lead to a change of service even if the opponent is out of the position. The server violates the service order, does not execute the service properly, faults after the service hit. After the ball has been correctly hit, the service becomes a fault. Unless a player is out of position, if the ball touches a player of the serving team or fails to cross the vertical plane of the net completely through the crossing space, goes out. Passes over a screen. Ang magin panglawag ko muna ang faults nga naobra during sang service. Serving faults and positional faults. When a server commits a fault during the service hit while the opponent is out of position, the serving fault is penalized. However, if the service execution is initially correct but later becomes a fault, like going out or passing over screen, the positional fault is penalized first. Example, ang server nag-serve tas naglapaw siya sa service line kag ang kontra nag-illegal rotation so ang nag-serve gid kuan violation. Tas kung nag-serve ka naman kag tsakto imo service pero nag-outside or under di sa kontra na makadto ang score. Attack hit. So the characteristics of the attack hit. Attack hits excluding service and block direct the ball towards the opponent. Tipping is permitted during an attack hit if the ball is cleanly hit, not caught or thrown. The attack hit concludes when the ball fully crosses the vertical net plane or is touched by an opponent. Fault of the attack hit. Front row players can attack within their playing space at any height, while back row players can attack from behind the front zone as long as they don't cross the attack line at take-off and can land within the front zone after hitting. Back row players can also attack from the front zone if part of the ball is below the top of the net. However, attacking on the opponent's service is prohibited if the ball is entirely above the net in the front zone. Ang front row players maka-attack sa ilang zone maski ano kataas sila lumpat, walang back row naman ma-attack sa likod sang front row player kag dapat maland sila sa front zone. And also, pwede ka-attack ang back row players sa front zone if ang bola ara pa sa babaw ka. Blocking. Blocking is the action of players close to the net to intercept the ball coming from the opponent by reaching higher than the top of the net. Regardless of the height of the bail contact, only front row players are permitted to complete a block, but at the moment of the contact with the ball, a part of the body must be higher than the top of the net. Usually, ang middle blocker gid ang ga-block kay sila ang front row players, and when they block, dapat mas taas gid lumpat nila sa bola para ma-block nila mayo kag makascore sila. Block attempt. A block attempt is the action of blocking without touching the ball. Block attempt amo niyang tactics nga usually ginaobra nila para magsala ang opponent nga kun abi ma-block sila pero hindi.
Block contact. Consecutive quick and continuous contacts with the ball may occur by one or more blocks, provided that the contacts are made during one action. Blocking within the opponent's space. In blocking, the player may place his or hands on arms beyond the net, provided that this action does not interfere with the opponent's play. Block and hits. A block contact is not counted as a team hit. Consequently, after a block contact, a team is entitled to 3 hits to return. The first hit after the block may be executed by any player, including the one who has touched the ball during the block. Blocking the service. To block an opponent's service is forbidden. The blocking faults. The blocker touches the ball in the opponent's space before the opponent's attack hit. A back row player or a libero completes a block or participates in a completed block. Blocking the opponent's service, the ball is sent out of the block. Blocking the ball in the opponent's space from outside the antenna. A libero attempts an individual or collective block.
Interruptions, delays, and intervals. Interruptions. An interruption is the time between one completed rally and the first referee whistle for the next service. The only regular game interruptions are times outs and substituting. Number of regular game interruptions. Each team may request a maximum of 2 times out and 6 substitution per set. Sequence or regular game interruptions. Request for 1 or 2 times out and 1 request for substitution by either team may follow one another within the same interruptions. However, a team is not authorized to make consecutive requests for substitution during the same interruption. 2 or more players may be substituted at the same time within the same request. There must be a completed rally between 2 separated substitution requests by the same team. Exception: a forced substitution due to injury or expulsion disqualification. It is not permitted to request any regular game interruption after having had a request rejected and sanctioned by delay warning during the same interruption. Requests for regular game interruptions. Regular game interruption may be requested by the coach or in the absence of the coach, by the assistant coach or by the game captain, and only by them. Substitution before the start of the set is permitted and should be recorded as regular substitution in that set. Timeouts. Timeout requests must be made by showing the corresponding hand signal when the ball is out of play and before the whistle for the service. All requested timeouts last for 30 seconds. For FIVB, World and Official Competition, the length of the timeouts could be adjusted if the FIBB approves such as requests based on the request from the organizer. For FIBB, World and Official Competition, it is obligatory to use the buzzer and then the hand signal to request. For FIBB, World and Official Competition, it is obligatory to use the buzzer and then the hand signal to request timeout. During all timeouts, the player in play must go to the free zone near their bench. Substitution. A substitution in the act by which a player other than libero or her replacement player, after being recorded by the scorer, enter the game to occupy the position of another player who must leave the court at that moment. When the substitution is enforced through injury to a player in a play, this may be accompanied by the coach or game captain, showing the corresponding hand signal. Limitations of substitutions. A player of starting lineup may leave the game but only once in 73.1 a set and re-enter but only once in a set, and only his or her previous position in the lineup. A substitute player may enter the game in place of a player of the 13.1 starting lineup but only once per set, and he or she can only substituted by the same starting player. Exceptional substitution. A player except the libero who cannot continue playing due to the injury, illness, or expulsion, disqualification should be substituted legally. If this is not possible, the team is entitled to make an exceptional substitution beyond the limits of Rule 15.6. An exceptional substitution means that any player who is not on the court at the time of the injury, illness, expulsion, disqualification except the libero, second libero, or the regular replacement player may be substituted into the game for the injury, expelled, disqualification player. The injury, expelled player substituted via exceptional substitution is not allowed to re-enter the match.
Substitution for expulsion and disqualification. A disqualified player must be substituted immediately through a legal substitution. Illegal substitution. A substitution is illegal if it exceeds the limitations indicated in Rule 15.6, except the case of Rule 15.7. The procedures for resuming play after an illegal substitution by a team will be followed in order. The team is penalized with a point in service to the opponent. The substitution must be rectified. The points scored by the team at fault since the fault was committed are cancelled. The opponent's points remain valid. Substitution procedure. Substitution must be carried out within the substitution zone. A substitution shall only last the time needed for recording the substitution on the score sheet and allowing entry and exit of the players. Substitution request begins when substitute player enters the substitution zone during interruption without a hand signal unless injury or set start. If the player is not ready in the moment of the request, the substitution is not granted and the team is sanctioned for a delay. The scorer or second referee acknowledges and announces a substitution request with numbered paddles used in FIVB World and official competitions, except when electronic devices transmit data. Part 2, Section 1, Game. A team must make simultaneous substitutions with all players entering the zone simultaneously. Substitutions must be made in succession, with illegal ones rejected and delayed. Improper requests. It is improper to request any regular game interruption during a rally or at the moment of or after the whistle to serve by a non-authorized team member for a second substitution by the same team during the same interruption, for example, before the end of the next completed rally, except in the case of injury, illness, expulsion, disqualification, or of a player in play. After having exhausted the authorized number of timeouts and substitutions, the first improper request by a team the match that does not affect or delay the game shall be rejected, but it must be recorded on the score sheet without any other consequences. Any further improper request in the match by the same team constitutes a delay. Game delays. Types of delays. An improper action of a team that defers resumption of the game is delay and includes, among others, delaying regular game interruptions, prolonging interruptions after having been instructed to resume the game, requesting an illegal, repeating an improper request, delaying the game by a team member. Delay sanctions. Delay warning and delay penalty are team sanctions. Delay sanctions remain in force for the entire match. All delay sanctions are recorded on the score sheet.
Sportsmanlike conduct. First, the official volleyball rules are mandatory for all participants to understand and follow. Ang rules sang volleyball is mandatory gid nga dapat naton tun-an kag itsindihon kag dapat gid naton himuon sang tiyakto. Second, participants are required to follow referee's decision with sportsmanlike conduct and refrain from disputing team. Ang mga ka-play volleyball dapat gid i-respect ang mga desisyon sang referees kag hindi gid dapat magbais kung ginhatagan ka referee sang foul kay pwede ya ka na mahatagan sang first warning or yellow card. Third, participants are required to refrain from influencing referee decision or covering up team foul. Bawal gid dapat impluwensyahan ang mga desisyon ka referees kag kung may mga sala ang ginhimo ang mga player, ikaw mismo nga team hindi mo na lang pagtakpan ang mga sala sang imo upod. Fair play. Participants are required to exhibit respectful and courteous behavior in the spirit of fair play. including respecting referees, other official, opponents, teammates, and spectators. Ang mga players needs gid magpakita sang respeto nga batasan if patas ang hampang di lang sa teammates kundi pati sa mga tawo nga kapalibot simo, referees kag iban pa mga involved sa volleyball biskan sa mga tawo nga gahalan. Minor misconduct. Minor misconduct offense are not subject to sanctions. It is the first referee's duty to prevent teams from approaching the sanctioning level. This is done with two stages. Stage 1, by issuing a verbal warning to the game captain. Stage 2, a yellow card is used as warning to team members symbolizing reaching the sanctioning level for the match recorded in the score sheet without immediate consequence. Misconduct to sanctions. The severity of team members' incorrect behavior toward official, opponents, teammates, or spectator is classified into three categories. Road conduct refers to action that go against good manners or moral principles. Offensive conduct refers to defamatory or insulting words, gestures, or actions expressing contempt. Aggression refers to physical attack or aggressive behavior that treating sanction scale. The first referee's judgment determines the sanctions for the offense, which can be penalties, expulsion, or disqualification, depending on the severity of offense. Penalty. The team member who exhibits rude conduct during a match is penalized with a point and serves to the opponent. Expulsion. Expelled team member must be replaced, legally not participate in the set, and remaining in dressing room until set completion without any other consequence. An expelled coach is prohibited from intervening the set and must be remain in the team dressing room until ongoing set is completed. A team member's first offensive conduct is typically punished with expulsion without any additional consequence. The same team member's second rude conduct is the same match will result expulsion without any additional consequence. Disqualification. A team member disqualified must be replaced legally or exceptionally immediately on court and remain in the team's dressing room for the remainder of match without any additional consequence. The first physical attack or implied or aggression is punishable by disqualification without any additional consequence. The same team member's second offensive conduct in the same match is penalized with disqualification without any additional consequence. Application of misconduct sanctions. Misconduct sanctions are individuals permanent and recorded on the score sheets for the entire match. Second, the same team member repeated misconduct in the same match is penalized progressively with the severity of the punishment increasing with each successive offense. Third, expulsion or disqualification due of the offensive conduct or aggression does not necessitate in a prior to sanction. Misconduct before and between sets. Rule 21.3 applies to any misconduct before or between sets with sanctions applicable in the following set. Summary of misconduct and card use. Warning, no sanctions. Stage 1, verbal warning. Stage 2, symbol yellow card. Penalty sanctions, symbol red card. Expulsion sanctions, symbol red plus yellow cards join neatly. Disqualification sanctions, symbol red plus yellow card.
Importance of rules and regulations in playing volleyball. Volleyball, or even any sport, is governed by rules and regulations. These rules and regulations ensure fairness and order during the game or the play. Each player or team needs to know these rules and regulations. It is very important to know the rules and regulations in playing volleyball because knowing the rules and regulations helps the players avoid giving free points to their opponent. Knowing the rules and regulations reduces the possibility of having an injury. Knowing the rules and regulations ensures a healthy game, meaning fair and orderly game.